Hey guys, it's Sarah Upside Down here. If you're wondering why all this great stuff is in front of me, is because I'm stressed and I need a cup of tea. So while we're waiting for people to arrive, just go ahead and pour your cup of tea so you can chill while we listen to the episode here. Got some discount tea at Ross today for immune and stress. Yogi tea's all right. It's pretty good. I don't know how much it ever helps me sleep, like any of the teas, but Anyway, if you have not been to my channel before, I do content for autism, ADHD, mental health, and a bunch of other things that I feel like are kind of connected in all of that. Today, specifically, we're going to be talking about mental health and some of the mental health things that go on in neurodiverse people, autistics, ADHD, what have you, and just diving into a little of that. So, and then, story time, because I usually have a story time. So, where I just tell a little bit about my story with some of these things. I don't like to talk way too much about mine. I'm more trying to kind of provide content to help other people understand or help their family members to kind of gain some understanding so they can, accept or help whatever their loved one. We're also going to have a guest star here at towards the middle to end, where he can kind of talk about a little bit about his story in this part of, spectrum stuff, whatever, and maybe some of the solutions that he's come across. So I'm just going to hop right into it. Feel free to chat in the chat box and give this video a thumbs up, and just, all that fun stuff. So, yes, tea, super helpful. But let me bring up my slide thing over here because I think in pictures. That's definitely a huge part of my autism, and not everybody that has that's autistic does that, but I think in pictures, and so sometimes I may seem to be articulate, but everything in my head is a picture or a video, and so it kind of helps me to bring these things up. And I also know that some people like visuals so that they can kind of connect or take the information in that way as well. So started doing slideshows. And I'm going to bring that up now. Oops. Kind of helps me stay focused because my ADHD is just ridiculous with that sometimes. So, it'll keep me focused on all the pretty pictures and stuff. And help me explain. I'm sure some of y'all can relate to that. Thanks for coming, tea and scribbles. I'm thinking sprinkles. I'm looking at all the rainbow hearts and trying to say scribbles at the same time. Word dyslexia. And thank y'all for coming on. So I literally put this together probably a few hours ago. And I've always loved doing just fitting everything together. So it's fun for me to do, but I get stuck in it. So yeah, mental health matters. That's what I decided to call this because, there's a lot of stigmas and things behind mental health or those who struggle with it. And so, obviously this visual right here, stigma, kind of shows what those who do struggle with mental health, what we're kind of trying to say that we need, or trying to, kind of explain. And a lot of times, like, you know, how that can be belittled or shown to be like not real, not really a thing, not something that you can have. And a lot of mental health is internal. You know, that doesn't mean it doesn't come out or project or you know, externalize in negative ways sometimes, especially, you know, I feel like as autistics, we like to show and do all of our energy on the outside. So, you know, with mental health, that does make things really hard to not, you know, show your anger and show, you know, have the meltdowns and things like that outwardly. So anyway, love these pictures. Of course, none of these are mine. I did not draw all this stuff. It's really cool though. And before I start with anything, I just want to say, because like I've seen this on other people's channels, and I'm like, am I supposed to do that? I am not a licensed psychologist, so take it or leave it. Okay, that's probably not what they say, but take it or leave it. If it helps, that's great. If I touch on just one thing, that's one thing that you maybe didn't know about before, or if it's for a loved one and that's why you're watching, then, well, now you know something that might help. So there's that. So on this, you know, up here picture, you know, it's showing anxiety. Like if you could show what it looked like on the outside, that's sort of what it's being portrayed. You know, it feels foggy, you feel sort of out of it, whatever. This is how it feels, you know, internally. And so that might come out like as anxious or like, you know, all these other different things. Some people don't know the difference in anxiety and something else, you know, it's just hard for them to visualize, especially if they've never had that. So I liked that picture. And then, you know, everything on here is like black and white, but also super colorful. I do not realize these things until I start talking about it. But it says, when trauma has shaped you, try not to confuse who you had to become with who you can be. And I think a lot of those of us that have mental health, you know, it came from somewhere. And before I go too much into certain things, I will do my best. I know triggers are easy. That's why I don't like to go too deep into, you know, stories and things like that, because a lot of people do go through things. We're not all, you know, alone in this. And so other people have triggers just like we do. So I'm going to do my best to, you know, not pull up anything that is too much, but only to explain in a helpful way. So I'm going to drink another sip of tea. All right. So before I kind of like go into talking about a little more things, and no, I didn't make this either, but it's super cool. I just put it on the slide. I am going to link where these pictures come from the blessing manifesting down below. I forgot to do that before I started. But I'm going to link all that. That way y'all can get to these pages and see all the other stuff that these people have come up with that are super helpful. But before I get into kind of discussing these things, I just wanted to explain why I kind of add, you know, the mental health side of things on my channel specifically, because I do have mental health issues. And so I can't really just talk about being autistic and, you know, all these great things about it and all that, and not bring up, you know, some of the other stuff that has come in my life, you know, or even because maybe I was autistic and not really myself and things throughout the years, like just what kind of follows with that. And so by connecting that, I'm kind of giving that full story to someone else who may have gone through the same thing. And it takes like kind of being, you know, putting yourself out there a little, which is tough. But I have CPTSD. So PTSD is like, you know, you can go into the war, you went through this one really extremely traumatic event, and, you know, you come home and, you know, you have PTSD, or, you know, you could have gone through multiple of those and had CPTSD. But usually CPTSD, like super hard to say that, is going through a larger amount of traumas. So, you know, starting from a certain age and up, you have more than one trauma. I mean, like, it's a continuous amount of traumas. So you're continuously, you know, having crap happen, and it's completely out of your control. So a lot of the times, you know, if you've been through this as a kid, so that's one of my things. I also have a generalized anxiety disorder and panic, some because of having CPTSD. And that kind of comes with some emotional regulation and things that I've been able to work more on. And I haven't really brought most of this stuff up in any of my episodes before, because I mostly base it on neurodiversity and getting people kind of more attuned to what that is. And so I haven't really spoken about my own sides of mental health. And I also don't really like to. I mean, who wants to talk about that? It sucks. But I'm trying to be a little bit more vulnerable in that area, sharing that, like acknowledging some of it. So I've had a lot of different family members, whether diagnosed or not, with different mental health issues, along with, you know, going through myself mental and emotional abuse for most of my life. So that's just a short thing about, you know, my mental health, why I kind of add that to this channel. And yes, most of us do have either one or other PTSD or anxiety issues. I mean, we already, our amygdala and everything is always, you know, it's ready to go. It's ready to go. And if we don't have healthy or positive things, which I will get to later, if we don't have these healthy or positive things, then, you know, well, coping things. And if you have not seen it yet, I do have a video on being autistic and codependency that I did a while back. That is one of my coping. Hold on, let me. That was one of my coping mechanisms. I was like, I'm going to shut that down. Was one of my coping mechanisms. I do feel really good about doing things for people. There is an extent to how that can be toxic, and I had to face that. So, you know, whatever. So I did make a video on that. If you want to go back through the playlist, you can check that one out, and I would definitely suggest it. But we will get on to my slideshow bubbles so I can add some other people in, get their perspectives. So got this cool little, man, this mouse. Biopsychosocial model for mental health. I'm sure y'all been kind of looking at it while I'm talking, but it's kind of explaining all the different areas where you can have these, where, you know, where the mental health comes from. And, you know, it might seem that some people have like the best lives and families and all this kind of stuff, and they really don't understand what, what someone is doing wrong to them or whatever. It's just like so not on the surface. And so that doesn't mean, you know, just because it always looks okay, that they're not going through some of these things growing up and then still until adult years. So these are all different ways of accumulating and hopefully not accumulating many mental health issues. You know, I feel like some of us probably have like at least one or two things, if not some of us, maybe all, in different parts of these bubbles. And a lot of people all over the world suffer from mental health. So, you know, having these visuals can kind of help you understand where maybe that came from, why you started, you know, using drugs or other, because some people just never really face where it came from, and they think it's just because they wanted to be an addict or they wanted to do these unhealthy things or whatever else. So, Like I said, I will post the links for this. That way you can go back and read everything on here and the other stuff that Blessing Manifesting posted. I'm going to go to the next one. So this is kind of showing the difference, like I was trying to explain, between PTSD and complex PTSD. So I love my bubbles. I didn't do this one, but like I've realized that the best type of way to keep myself like focusing on a task list is to do a bubble task list. I mean, they're great. And I'll try to look over and read y'all's comments here and there, but you know, ADD is crap. So PTSD, single trauma, can come with these things: hypervigilance, sleeping problems, avoiding reminders of trauma. Oh yeah, that avoidance one. I feel like a lot of us kind of struggle with that. Yeah. Nightmares, etc. But then, you know, you got the complex over here. So emotional regulation, repeated traumas, anger, guilt, intimacy issues, feeling worthless. And, you know, some of those may be to a higher extreme than others in that bubble. None of them are super great. You have to have a lot of tools to be able to battle these mental health disorders, because, you know, as you can see, that's a lot for people to deal with, and it's all internal. You may not ever see them really dealing with it. A lot of people don't see me because I'm usually the one making them feel better. So, you know, all the best people that do that. It's just how it is. You know, learning to be honest with myself and try to open to people that you can trust is very helpful. By that, I mean my cat and my therapist. Who's with me on that? Raise your hand if your cat and your therapist are great to be honest with. Yeah. Y'all know I can't be serious this whole time. So this was a really interesting list. I mean, sometimes you read stuff about things and you didn't even know that that was things for you. So, you know, stuff that you didn't know, which is getting overwhelmed in crowds. So again, if you go back to the neurodiversity and the, you know, disorder side of, you know, autism and stuff, like there's already that hypersensitivity, that sensory processing, that audio processing. So of course, you know, getting overwhelmed in crowds too, if you've been through trauma, because there is such thing as autistics that have gone through trauma. They were wired autistic, they went through trauma or whatever. I mean, that's my belief. Have your own. I'll accept that too. It's fine. You know, so anyways, all these lists, learning that high anxiety does not mean generalized anxiety like other people have with panic attacks, and not feeling that they can accomplish things. PTSD anxiety just means the frantic energy that makes you want to talk, think, do things, even as an introvert, to avoid stopping. Oh, well, you know, that. Yeah. It's like, am I doing that right now? Crap, you know, you just don't know. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know where my cat is this time. I don't know if y'all see her. She's probably passed out somewhere being lazy. She kind of like gets on catnip and then runs back and forth throughout the house every so often, drinks some water from the faucet, and then, you know, she might come back in here later. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, some of these things, it's like, I know that I'm doing it. I know that it's not just my ADHD. I'm trying to separate where it's coming from so that I can like work on it, but then you don't even know. So like just reading some of these things like that, like, oh yeah, that's why I can't just like, it's like I'm still going, like, shh, you know. Yeah, I would say there's some impulsive things in that area too, but period, racing heart, you know, because anxiety, all that. Purposely taking a bad day with sad music, TVs, books, because it was already ruined anyways. It's really not funny. It isn't. But, you know, laughing is one of my coping mechanisms. I feel like y'all feel me on that. Oh, good, Tea and Scribbles. I'm like looking back up at the comments. Glad you're going to be talking more about this stuff too. And yes, cats. I know I want more cats, but you know, I gotta like be responsible. So, whoopsie. Anyway, onward to the next one. Myths, perspectives that can be harmful or toxic. So these were like such good pictures. Love you, Pinterest. Thank you for helping me out, because I'm like, I need something that shows what's in my head, you know. So it's important. It's not a sign of weakness. If you have mental health, it is not a sign of weakness. A lot of us that do, it's from going through things that we could not control. It is not weakness. We have to have tools so we can work on it. That doesn't mean we're weak. Okay, there's a difference. You know, just what is that word all these people are saying these days? Cringe. I just can't. I don't know. I don't keep up with it. Something everyone has, shameful or isn't shameful, intrinsically linked to, probably inseparable from physical health, isn't always something negative. On a continuum, isn't something to think about, worth making time for, an interchangeable term, part of the human. Okay, I'm getting like, dang it, dang dyslexia. I'm like, okay, I skipped some lines there, whatever. Is complex, isn't fixed. Thank you. Is real, isn't fake news. I mean, I'm sure you've gotten like emotionally, you know, wrong comments told to you that I was on the isn't side plenty of times. At least I know I have. It's very frustrating. But anyway, some of us have maybe even done this before, because it's been said to us so much that that's what we do. That's what we share. And that's how we communicate, because that's how people did to us. We don't really know a difference sometimes until we learn up and realize that we don't like that being done anymore, and we don't want to do that to other people. And I really felt like this picture really went along with it, because yes, I'm guilty of probably saying one of these things before. It's because I actually do have the disorder and I'm trying to cope with humor, but it's not always okay, because someone else around you might have that and they might not think or deal with it in that way. So, you know, just like same as autistics can have, you know, differences of opinion with each other, you know, or whatever. Well, it's the same with, you know, mental health stuff, and someone might not cope or whatever in the same way, and it could be harmful. So just some of these sayings, and hope they're not triggering for anyone. Like I said, just gives us some real awareness with this video. So, anyway, one that I have heard a lot is, my mom yelled at me yesterday, she's so bipolar. Quit being psycho. My OCD is coming out again. I stayed up until 1 a.m. My insomnia is so bad. But it's like there's, you know, sarcastic or joking way, like they might not even have that. And so, you know, they don't know that maybe their friend that's sitting next to them totally does, and they struggle with it every single day of their life, and it's something that they cannot control. So, you know, just try to suck this in what parts that you didn't know, and try to be more aware, you know, of that. I have this slideshow saved. If y'all want to put a comment after the video has finished, or like send your, oh, I guess not everybody wants to put their email on there. Whatever. PM me somewhere, something, and I can send you the slideshow if you want to do that. Because I know some people want to like read every single one of them. I get it. Now this one, yeah. So these are a lot of things that have, I know, been really hard for me to understand, because this starts to happen in your healing process, and a lot of people never actually get to this part, and it's, I didn't know if I would, so I get it, but that's why I'm sharing what I have started to see. So this top picture, I'm sorry I wasn't aware of the truth while I was you, the truth that you are enough as you are, that you don't have to spend your life proving that. In honor of you, I'll dedicate my life to nurturing and living that truth. I'm like, I'm cracking. Oh my gosh. Yeah. definitely hard to say like that without emotion, because it is, and I know that that's probably, you know, hard for some other people to hear as well. But sometimes, you know, in order to process and heal through some of these mental health issues, you know, there may not be a cure for all of them, but there is stuff that we can do, and we have to kind of face that. So another thing here, always remember how much you have survived. Your world has fallen apart before, time and time again, and the rest of the world has still kept going despite the fact that you were broken. And after thinking you will never recover, never get up off the floor again, you have dusted yourself off and carried on. If you have survived your world shattering over and over again, you are still here, a bit damaged, a bit broken, but still here. You should be proud of yourself, because that is no small thing. And yeah, wow, I don't really even have to say anything about that. So if it gets me speechless, you know, yeah. And hey, you know what? I got a box of tissues. If we need to cry during this, we're talking about mental health, and I will cry. Here's a tissue. Here, let me wipe it up to you and scribble. Let me get it. You know, we can cry. That's another thing. I probably don't have it on any of these slides. We can cry. I gotta tell myself that. I don't know why I'm slamming stuff. I gotta calm down. So anyway, so sad. So anyways, I don't know where my hands are going. What those two pictures, or, you know, things right there that I just read, kind of lead into the next picture, which is how to validate your inner child. Yes, I will be posting the link for this site, because she does have more information you really need to know if you struggle with mental health. It really, there's just a lot of cool pictures and stuff on there. How to validate your inner child. Visualize yourself holding your inner child. Say things you wish your parents had told you. Tell him or her what happened wasn't their fault. Tell your inner child you are here for him or her and you won't leave. Let your inner child know that their feelings are valid and you are listening. Give your inner child the chance to feel anything without judgment. Ask your inner child if there are feelings they are willing to share. So you're probably like, that sounds like a bunch of hippie mumbo jumbo. Well, it's not, but it is. It's because usually we cope and mask, and then, you know, people that are autistic are, you know, they mask also anyways, you know, really just neurodivergence period, like ADHD people do. Like, it's just the thing. So we automatically do that. But like, you know, even if you're neurotypical, you will mask your trauma sometimes. You'll mask the stuff that you go through, and you'll put that on until you disappear. The same as what I've explained in masking as an autistic. You will disappear. And so you have that inner child, I know it's like, whatever, in there that's hiding behind all the stuff that you had to survive with. And they're usually the one that's talking, trying to help. I don't know how to explain that, but trying to help you to see what your needs are. And, you know, a lot of autistics also don't have needs met and things like that. But like children that go through these situations don't have their needs met. So that is just really affirming with yourself and knowing that, like, that self-care, like we talked about also on a different video, is okay, and that you're able to have these needs met, and those things are okay, that you're enough, you're worth doing that for. I don't like to sound like I'm like, dang, you know, like a Yoda up here, except for I'm fine with that. But because it's real, you know, you need to go back, not just to relive everything, but when I did that, I was like, okay, now I know that it's okay for me to do some of the things that I need to do, and I don't have to feel guilty or bad for the other person, you know, even though, you know, their needs are met or whatever. Like, I can just actually take care of myself and my mental health. And that's kind of what it comes down to me. So, So my boundaries, I put kind of all the, boundaries and teacups in this today. I don't know, it's tea day, but it says, I will take care of myself first. I will not allow others to guilt or manipulate me into doing things I'm not comfortable with. Can I get a yes? Hey, can you talk more about disappearing, how it works? Yes, I will go back to that in just a second. I want to get through this this slideshow because I know some of my peeps that are on here know what that's about a little bit, and they will share some. Yeah, so yes, and insomnia sucks. But yeah, anywho, I will stand up for myself and my voice, my opinions with confidence. I will not hold myself responsible for the things beyond my control. I will communicate openly and when need to assertively. I will not let my happiness depend on other people. So if you've literally done the opposite of every single one of those things, you do not know boundaries. You need to learn them because they will help you to know that what that inner child needs. That will help you to have healthy protection and not just things that seem to work, but actually do work. Another thing with boundaries is phrases I don't want to hear again. It's all in your head. If you live healthy, you will be healthy. Can't you just be happy? It's not so bad. You just have a bad mindset. Why haven't you grown out of it yet? You're being dramatic. Don't take it. You don't have to. You learn the boundaries with the plant things up there in the picture. And then these are just some teas that help with different things. Like I said, I'll send you the slideshow if you want it. As a survivor of child abuse and trauma, you make a choice every day to heal from your abuses of your past. Some days you actively work on processing. Some days you compartmentalize. Then there are days when it gets a solid hold on your life and seems to stop. In the monuments, when you feel like you can't get up, please love yourself louder. Look at the amazing work you're doing. You are healing. Honor your journey, recognize your strength, and allow yourself to rest. Chart T-Day. Oh, sorry, ADD. Are you asking how your inner child disappears and how that works? Is that what you're asking about? Oh, yes. Matcha green tea. Well, I guess I need 10 pounds of that. Anyway, so these are all things that I kind of learned before I got to sort of this next part of what I started adding in. And this is just for me. Like I said, everybody has something different. I feel like things that keep my body and mind and grounded because I have anxiety out the wazoo. I was like, which word is appropriate right now? Yes. So these are things that have helped in my journey to ground myself, to be present, because I don't know what that's about sometimes either. And I do speak more about child abuse or childhood, whatever. That doesn't always mean physical, although some experience both. So, relatable. But, whatever trauma, these things still help with any walks of life and cultures and whatever. So yeah, I started doing yoga, and most of these things you'll find in common of what they do is helping to breathe. So everybody thinks this is about the cool poses or the weird stuff or whatever. No, okay, obviously, he's doing a super cool pose or whatever. But it's really not about that. It's just about breath. At least for me, I'm not in the more of the spiritual aspects of the yoga, although I'm a super spiritual person. It's like me kind of being able to silence my mind and breathe. And once you learn yoga, you just remember to breathe as you're walking around. Because we hold our breath a lot and then we wonder why we're lightheaded and having anxiety. So, it really helped me to learn I just do yin yoga. There's no cool poses. It's all on the floor. Yes, I've done all the other fun kinds with the cool tricks, but that one is the slowest one, and it is having you go through this process of your body being in somewhat pain because you're staying in the position for a long time, but you are releasing all this stress. And the shirt that I'm actually wearing today is from a trauma retreat. I have been to 3. I don't know if you can read it, but anyways, it says hurt people hurt and healed people heal. So if you're still hurting or whatever, then, you might still need healing. But it was a yoga trauma retreat because they taught us all about healing through yoga. So anyway, I've also been to 2 other ones, but they were both for trauma for myself. And one was a week long and one was a weekend thing where I was able to learn a bunch of different coping skills and information through there. And they were both like free or a super low price. So that makes it better. But I have just learned and accumulated. In a lot of these places, we did yoga or martial arts. So dancing, that's another thing. And you know what? Nobody puts baby in the corner no more. So get up, do your thing. Dancing does have many benefits for mental health. Experts believe that dancing could help improve your mental health in 3 ways. By boosting the flow of blood to your brain, by naturally reducing stress, anxiety, and depression, thanks to social aspects it brings, by mentally challenging the brain, learning steps and moves, and therefore makes it stronger. Then there's martial arts. I also do karate, but it's not just about doing cool tricks and fighting again. It's all about breathing and movement and practice and focus and responsibility. So yes, and like I would say with all the, or what you mean by losing, or what I meant by losing is, yes, like, I mean, you're kind of, identity things can come from that sometimes because you've lost your who you were as a child, who kind of, when you're, especially if you're a codependent, you're like doing everything for somebody else all the time, that you're just taking all their stuff on all the time. And then you don't really think you deserve to have anything because you kind of don't have yourself anymore. So everybody thinks that like getting that from someone is going to help. If the right person, if this person that I really care about treats me this way or affirms me this way, that I'm going to get better. I'm going to feel better. Well, for me, sorry, but that was an honest truth that no, it's never going to be that way. I have to care and love myself. And when I help people, it will feel even better because I don't only want to care and love for them, I love me. But yeah, Chuck Norris. When Chuck Norris does yoga, the sun salutes him. I don't know. I always have to put memes on here. And I love the Karate Kid. So like I said, these are all different things that I've tried. They help with trauma. They help with being on the spectrum. They help focus. They help breathe. So, there's just a lot of benefits in it. And of course, you get your physical fitness and your weight loss and all the outwardly things. But what these specific things do as far as healing, like just being natural through it and learning and that self-confidence, not fake self-confidence, but like legitimate self-confidence, that's what this brings. So these are my suggestions. They have helped me a lot in my mental health. It says here, I choose to live by choice, not by chance, to be motivated, not manipulated, to be useful, not used, to make changes and excuses, to excel, not compete. I choose self-esteem, not self-pity. I choose to listen to my inner voice, my inner child. They are telling you you need something. Do not ignore it. Don't listen to what others say if it is going against everything that you want to do or need. That is your intuition. You've been ignoring it, basically. Welcome to the club. So I choose to do the things that you won't so I can continue to do the things that you can't. I don't know if I read that right. It's a little blurry. But this is another reason why I do martial arts. I've done kickboxing and now karate. But the karate has more good morals and peace and value and things in it to me. Wearing a black belt does not mean you're invincible. It means you never gave up, worked past the pain, overcame the disappointments, didn't cave into your doubts, faced your fears, and learned enough to realize how little you actually know. Boom, gotcha. So, you know, I'm going to get this off now and add a couple people on here. So anyway, that is just some descriptions of, certain mental health area bubbles that a lot of us can struggle with. Some people may have others, personality-wise, schizophrenia, whatever, and they may have a lot of these similar, issues as far as trying to cope and deal. And yeah, anyway, that was a long explanation. But now I have Ken on the spectrum joining me. It's not a surprise because, like, I just, of course we got to bring him on. But anyway, I'm going to give him a moment because I really want y'all to kind of hear it from different people, and if you had any questions about anything I said at all before, or you need an explanation, or you're a little bit more confused, I will, you can PM me and we can talk a little more about what I've kind of figured out in that area. And like I said, it's just my advice of what I've done. But I am seeing your comments. I do see you there. And I want to make sure to address that because it's a lot of complex information to keep in one, video. So my head is exploding right now. I'm going to let Ken take the floor and kind of share just a short version of, like, some of his stuff and maybe like his solutions that he's kind of figured out. So always the wrong one. Dang it, still the wrong. Ken.
Ken is now going to tell you what the nature of God is. Yeah, it's just like, I'm not sure what you want. Do you want like, do you mean I should give like a personal history or what like coping?
More just like, so I know that a lot of people like talking about their stuff, but is that my house? Oh, hey, I'm finishing up a video. I'll be there in a second. So a second, I mean like a little bit, but anyway, I like to provide solutions for people. So like what has worked for you, you don't have to say your specific mental health if you don't want to. What has worked for you is a solution to, whether it's anxiety, like stuff that you do, because I shared mine. That's kind of what I do. Maybe what you do helps more for someone that relates more to you. So just kind of share maybe some of that, something.
Well, I'll try to make it quick. As far as the lead up, in my childhood, yeah, I was the oddball, who wasn't of our group. I had to put up with a lot of mean-spirited stuff there would always be some kids I'd get along with that would accept me. It's like, okay, he's weird, quirky, whatever. But there were a lot of kids that were mean-spirited. And that went on from grade school, junior high, high school, and then into my adulthood. It's one of them things where I can't say that there's a formula because we're all individuals. It's going to be different, and we are going to have to go through the hell to get to heaven, so to speak. We have to go through the hard stuff, and we have to learn from it. We have to learn the hard way what works for us and be adaptable. I had to adapt. I had to pay close attention to how everybody else was talking, laughing, what their interests were. Now, I didn't change my interest. I mean, they all thought I was just, they were like, okay, sci-fi dork.
Nerd.
Yeah, but then I liked a lot of the same music they did. I mean, I listened to just about anything within reason. But I narrowed it down after a while, and I had to make, they are right. A lot of the stuff they like is got more meat and taters to it than some of that flimsy, weird stuff I was jumping on. But I would have to say the work world, the school environment and the work environment. I don't know what it is about work, but to me, it almost seems like everybody just transplants a lot of the bad elements from the school environment right into the work environment. So everybody's like a 2-year-old, and it's a question of who can mask that better than the other. And that's just a neurotypical people. That's not.
Okay. Is that where like kind of some of maybe your like struggles or anxieties came from kind of not being able to sort of do things like that sort of in the bar, like how it needs to be or whatever? And what did you do to kind of help with your situation about it?
Strangely enough, I went through a period in the 80s, 1980s, where I got really, why, I don't know. I became really fascinated with World War II. I don't know why. I hated all that stuff when I was a kid. And then, of course, I took interest in all kinds of histories and whatever. But I don't know what happened, but I was really fascinated with the idea that somebody would come to power, like in Russia or Germany or whatever, and they would introduce militancy into the public life. So you're not just in the military, but I mean, like one man complained that came through the Nazi period. He was an older man when he was interviewed. He said when they came to power, all of a sudden everybody was wearing a uniform. It didn't matter what you were doing. You could be, and I was impressed by the fact that these people could clamp down on themselves and make themselves do things and pull themselves up out of a gutter like that. And I wasn't gravitating toward Nazi doctrine. I was pro-Israel or pro whatever, that would be in contrast to, what the Nazis were into. But I never got into the racial stuff, but I was always impressed by that for the longest time. And what I did was I got militant on myself. I started becoming what I did, which was bad. It added to my inevitable PTSD over the years. CPTSD really was. I became that voice. You know how somebody else is that voice? Well, I had those voices. I had them in the house. You're not. Why do you like that? That's stupid. Why don't you?
Yeah.
Don't you see yourself being
this house up here?
Don't you see yourself being a truck driver and all this? And so basically anything I liked, any interest I had was stupid and rubbish and wasted time and wasn't going to make any money. And that militant side of me became more hostile. And what happened, which I didn't know at the time because I never heard of this stuff until maybe 4 or 5 years ago, really. The business of trauma-based indoctrination. That's where you inflict trauma on, it's done deliberately. You inflict trauma on people, you split their minds, and then you can create alternate personalities that can control. This happens in the sex slave and stuff. Sex slave, quote, industry, unquote. But what I did was I created this persona in my mind that protected the real me. So I had a binary me. There's the strong man and there's the weak man. The strong man says, let me take care of everything. You just sit there and mind your own. Let me take care of everything. And what I do is I start creating these layers like an onion, just skins on top of skins of personalities. And I wouldn't let people get down to the core. And if they did, they met basically my version of Satan. It was like, you shouldn't be this far in. And I never heard of that stuff. I mean, I found out later what I done to myself is I trauma-based indoctrinated myself.
Well, I mean, and that happens a lot of times because we don't know positive coping things. And so we, do the only things that our brains feel like that can protect us. So, I mean, like I said, like getting bullied or, whether you've been through one thing or many, that one thing could have been so traumatizing that you did the same thing as someone who did go through these multiple, whatever. But what did you do to kind of, acknowledge that and try to like move on to like realizing like that, that wasn't really healthy and you needed to work on a different route?
Well, first off, what happened was a split personality started happening in me. Naturally, I want to be good natured. I want everybody to get along, all that stuff. But I would have times when that, even after I got past that era, I didn't need it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That person was there. All I was doing was either putting it in the closet or decommissioning it temporarily, but it was still there. It's still there now. Um, it has come out in the worst ways. I mean, maybe a couple of years ago, there was one incident in the summer where I said something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to go into it, but the person that heard me say it said, the first words out of her mouth were, "That's psychotic." I mean, it was something murderous. And the whole personality changes. I'm not just like, "I want to kill you." It was, I turn into somebody else, nothing like this.
Yeah.
And you can imagine that, a Nazi uniform on that, or just Satan, or whatever. I mean, it was really, I drove myself at one point when I was a kid to try and be as evil as I could in some ways in my thoughts, because I thought that gave me strength.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you're going to be strength
it's that toxic masculinity thing too.
Yeah, well, I didn't. Although strangely, I was never cruel or hateful toward women. I've always liked the idea.
No, I mean the toxic masculinity, or like where you're not supposed to show things like emotions or feelings in certain ways. You're supposed to be like this, and so it really puts in to certain people that really take that completely to this side. They're like, well, then I can only be this way, which therefore they're not really getting out things at all, and they're closed up, and then that creates some of that. At least that's sort of what I've realized. I mean, it's natural to sort of happen, but it's unfortunate.
And there's a lot of shame involved with that too, because after you pop up and say something or act a bad way, then it's like, oh, now everybody's scared of me, and now they ain't gonna want to be around me. And
well, the good thing is you actually know what you're doing. It's just like learning to change it and do something different, which is really hard if it's it's more uncontrollable. But it's like some people don't feel bad really at all about what they're doing. So but I appreciate you being vulnerable and telling that part of your story. You've come on here and we've talked about autism and those sides of things and the neurological side. This is more on the psychological and mental, which is huge special interest. So is autism, but it's so we can kind of understand where all those things are coming from. But anyhow, you were vulnerable and you were able to share that. And I think that sometimes it's really hard to share these honest things that none of us really want to have. But in doing that, someone else that thought they were the only person, or they might not have listened to another video about it or whatever else, they're like, aha, now what do I do? Now what do I go towards now as a solution to this? Or, okay, cool, I learned about it and now I'm just done and I have no ways to cope, so I'm just going to stay the way I am forever and hide and not heal. I mean, that's what will happen.
Yeah, the best thing I found is I really didn't start. Well, let's see. I did find out I was autistic. I was 53. I'm 57 now. And I thought, okay, I'm autistic. Give me some pills or whatever. At least I know what's wrong with me. But I have not addressed it really or taken it seriously until I got involved in Mind Your Autistic Brain.
Well, that's taking processing time for those things. I just mean more like sometimes we'll do this for years.
Yeah.
Like decades, and then we're like, oh man, I guess the pattern probably needs to change now that it's been a decade or two.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about when you do it or how fast, but it's like, okay, you see it now though. If you finally see it, you finally get those epiphanies, do something, because if you don't, then you're making that choice. I mean, some people, I wouldn't say everybody, some people don't have choices depending on where they're at or how the situation is. I could kind of see it from that point of view. But for those who are acknowledging this or whatever, it's not necessarily all about the other person that's doing to them stuff to them or whatever. It's like healing in your own self, realizing the not good, but the good at the same time in your own self, and really not going towards so much about them anymore. Because you see that if they're not changing, that's their choice, but you are still working on your inner self here, your body, your brain, your spiritual health, whatever, and you are able to not like be 100% cured, but you're still moving. You're moving forward, whether it's slow or fast. That's really my point with that. And by you being on here, you're moving, you're doing something, you know.
I would say part of it too is paying attention to yourself. I mean, that's what I had to do. As to, you gotta catch it. I mean, you gotta
Yeah.
observe. It's like you gotta know what's leading you to that point, and you gotta see it. It's like there it goes. It's like you see it coming. It's like you gotta put the kibosh on it the best you can. I've learned to be mostly nonverbal in my responses more often because I find at least inside I'm upset, but I'm not doing and saying things that's going to get me in trouble, with somebody else. Like, yeah, I could stop it at the border and before it gets out.
Well, it's like learning that self-control, which to me, that goes back to, some of those things that I suggested to try to do. Really, they're for all ages for the most part, because it's helped me learn more self-control, not to be triggered so easily, to learn that, like, to sort of be able to gauge things a little bit better, to take time to breathe so that I can say the right thing instead of, kind of overdoing it, and you can't imagine how much some of that stuff can help.
I do have a decent enough intellect, and I try to employ that. I've always been jealous of the Vulcans on Star Trek. There was an episode, I think it was Spock or Tuvok, I can't remember. They explained to somebody. Yeah. But they were explaining what was going on, because the person would say, well, you don't have emotions. And they're like, we have emotions. But what we do is we contain them, and we can look at them and watch them and observe them. The Vulcan always has the emotions in them. Some of them get proud, even though they wouldn't admit it, and say, we don't have emotions.
Yeah.
Because they think they've arrived. But the truth of the matter is they had them, but they contained and controlled, because of their mental capabilities. They would override their emotional seat to the point where they would just about not have emotions.
Yeah.
And I was always jealous of that.
I know, it's like, wouldn't that be nice to be able to do? I'm like on the other side of that spectrum, where it's like, how do you get there? I just need a little bit of that. Like, I don't want to be that much over there, but I just need a little bit so that I can like have less feeling and emotion, like outwardly and stuff, so I get what you're going through with that. But also on the other side of that, I just wrote something in the chat thing, and I was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I don't know why I didn't Dr. Seuss the heck out of this before, but like it says, if you don't introspect, you project. That's what happens. So if you're not looking inside enough, if you're not acknowledging those bad things enough, but also acknowledging the good, caring for yourself, doing those healthy steps, what happens? You don't know where it's coming from anymore. You project it back out. Duh. You had it. Did anybody get like a, everybody do the emoji where it's like, just stick it down there, because I know, yeah. That is what happens. And like, I've talked about this recently a little bit before, with Madison, who's also on here. And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I know, this happens when other people do, because not having any introspection of yourself at all, that can be pretty dangerous. That's where other mental health or personality disorders come from or whatever. But if you're able to do that, you need to, because then you will find who you are, and you will be okay with that, all of it, and then be able to move forward. Again, inner child, being okay with it all, going on. So I have another friend on here. I'm going to see if they want to say anything. If you do, turn your mic off. If not, that is okay. I'll give them a second. And then we will get this episode over with. Let me see real quick.
on my phone after you're done.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't find it, and I'm trying to read that.
Okay. Well, their mic is still on. I'll give it another second while. Oh, thanks! Someone did the emoji. Come on, everybody else do the emoji. It's a trend now. I don't really follow those. Usually I do for a second, and then I'm like, I gotta do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? I can't do it. That's okay. Guess what? You know what? Sometimes when we have boundaries, we're honest and we say we don't want to do something. Guess what? That's fine. But on another note, my friend may not be talking today. She will come on like a sunflower. Okay, whatever. I'm getting super iffy. But sunflowers, I like that she has that picture because it's going to be my next tattoo. But they rise towards the sun. I mean, you can't get no more hippie than that. But they grow and rise towards the sun. And so I have seen, just let that intuition go, man. Just let it go. Let it be free. Because I have seen sunflowers all over the dang place for a reason. You know, you just, that's those little spurts. That's your little like, hello, I'm trying to tell you something. You know, just like to you. But yeah, seeing that sunflower on there today, doesn't it make you happy, Ken, to see a sunflower?
I was going to say, you know, you can remind. I don't know if you've ever heard of the TV show.
Oh, don't. I don't want to know.
What is the name of that?
Blossom?
Oh, no, I'd definitely be Buttercup. Which Powerpuff Girl are you? Comment this in the thing.
Jack Webb, but I can't remember it.
You know, which Powerpuff Girl are you? Put a comment down. I'm Buttercup.
Dragnet. That's the name. Yeah, the late '60s show Dragnet. Well, they had an episode where they were asking questions, and they go into this hippie shop, and this gal's running it, and she's got the colored glasses on. And she's like, "There you go." And then she's like, they're saying something, and she's like, "Everybody's got a bag, and in that bag they got a thing." I thought, hey, that could be Sarah Ferguson back in the '60s.
Yeah. But guess what you use to combat that bag? You know those bags of baggage? You know what you use to combat that bag? You drop a crap bag of cat litter, poo, and you pick up a good bag and you put a bunch of good tools in it. You just drop that bag off in a ditch and you go get your new bag and you like keep loading that thing up like Mary Poppins. There's so much stuff in there. You pull out an umbrella you wouldn't even have known it was in there. There's your inspiration for the day.
I'm hearing White Rabbit in my head right now. So, one pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small. We're talking about get rid of the poo bag and like, man, just feel that other bag.
Because I really hate, like, I love having my cat. Like, she is like the best thing ever that's happened to me this year. But like, I cannot stand cleaning out the litter box. Like, sensory, not fun at all. Like the smell, just no.
Too bad you couldn't potty train Glitch, because I have seen cats like on they'll go in the toilet, which is weird.
But then it makes me not want to eat a sandwich for a while because I like super loved the Little Rascals as a kid. Yeah, do a fist pump if you like the Little Rascals. I loved that crap. And like now I just think about cat litter and then like, they gave them cat litter in a sandwich. Now I can't eat. I don't know why those things connect together. Okay, I do. It's like ADD mixed with my autism, and then it's like la 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 la. You don't want to eat cat litter. I mean sandwiches. So you know what I'm saying?
I lost my appetite.
Whatever. Cat litter and sandwiches go together. And yes, I do quote a lot of movie quotes. So like if y'all saw like Grease back there, Dirty Dancing and stuff, man, I swear it's like a comment that I do way too much now where I say nobody puts baby in the corner. And like I didn't realize how much I quoted movie quotes all the time. That's like a very important part of my communication. Cause like that's where I have that feeling is watching the movies. And that's where I kind of like go into that, you know, so like I will just pull out the things that kind of like with that. So anyways, Dirty
Yeah, I
Dancing.
do that too. I drive my wife crazy. I'll just start singing. She'll say anything, and a song from decades ago pop into my head, and I'll just start singing it. And it's the words like she says in a sentence, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, I do
Yeah.
it today. I mean,
It's
shoot.
like when my kids say something, and I know it's like so not probably right to do, but like they're not getting something or whatever. And the song that comes in is "You Can't Always Get
Yeah,
What You Want," and I'll
want.
just start singing it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's probably not a good thing. But maybe if it's in song, they'll like it better. Yeah. I don't know. That's definitely something our autistic sides of the brains, can do or whatever. But scripting, it's part of that. So, I have some episodes on that in another. Like I can never know. It's how do y'all have those problems? I don't have.
I automatically think
You
I
never.
automatically think point in the opposite direction, what I instinctually, and it's usually right, but I can't.
Oh, I see. I'm naturally backwards, so this seems right until. Oh wait, I don't know. Anyway, we're just getting goofy now, but I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Like I said, I did put up somewhere. I'll put it at the bottom again. My Facebook is the eccentric. I was about to double write that. Dang dyslexia. The eccentric autistic on Facebook.
Can you see me in there?
Ken on the spectrum, by the way. When I put all the links and stuff on there, I'll go ahead and put his stuff. He also has a Facebook page, but through the eccentric, the eccentric autistic, you can message me through there, and I can send the slideshow or any other pictures or whatever ways are easiest for you to take information in. I can try to do my best to send that. Sometimes I just accidentally procrastinate because I forget what I'm doing. But yeah. Enjoyed having y'all. Enjoyed everybody that's like coming on, sharing stuff about their cats and sunflowers. And
Pardon.
I'm gonna make sure I read it. If I why do I read out loud whenever I'm reading comments? I'm like, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, just saying that. I just do it because that's how I read and I forget. But I will not say your name. Yes, that's definitely scripting. Obviously, I need to drink more matcha tea. That's what I got from y'all's comments. Matcha tea. Stretching is my friend. Jumping on the trampoline is awesome. Yes, and actually jumping on the trampoline. Talk to Carol Jean. I don't know if you from Mind Your Autistic Brain. I was like trying to put that together in my brain. She knows a whole lot of stuff about dyslexia and other things, and trampolines being helpful. So I will put her links in here so y'all can find that. But it also helps with proprioception if you are kind of clumsy as crap, like me. So, anyway, yes, I put my information at the bottom. I will put all the links in the description. Thank y'all for coming and enjoying our time. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
Behave.
Always. You too, actually. I don't know why you're saying that, because I am a mature 30-year-old adult now. So
I'm an immature 57-year-old adult.
Okay, one of us was being completely honest.
Which one? We don't know.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't call it a lie. I was just joking, but I'm mostly mature. Y'all have fun. It's been a good Wednesday.